Close your eyes now and feel the gentle weight of thousands of years settling softly upon your shoulders like the warmest blanket you've ever known. Tonight, you're not broken, you're not restless, you're not flawed in any way. Tonight, you're carrying the sacred inheritance of survival itself, and that restlessness you feel, that's not insomnia. That's wisdom. Ancient, protective, loving wisdom that has kept your family line alive for 40,000 years. Take a deep breath with me now, and as you exhale, imagine you're breathing out all the modern worry, all the guilt about not sleeping perfectly, all the frustration with your busy mind. Let it all go, because tonight we're going home. We're going back to where your brain truly belongs, back to the Ice Age, back to a time when your restless mind wasn't a problem to solve, but a gift to treasure. Picture this with me now. It's 40,000 years ago, and you're wrapped in the warmest, softest furs imaginable. Outside your cave, the wind is howling across endless glaciers, carrying the scent of snow and ancient forests. But inside, oh inside, you are completely, utterly safe. Your ancestors knew something we've forgotten, something beautiful and true. They knew that the darkest hours before dawn weren't times of fear, but times of gathering, times when the tribe drew closest together. Times when the most important stories were whispered from heart to heart, when the deepest bonds were forged in firelight and shadow. Feel your breathing slowing now as we settle into this ancient truth. Your brain, the very brain that's listening to these words right now, carries the exact same wiring as theirs. Every racing thought you've ever had at midnight, every moment of alertness in the darkness, every protective instinct that keeps you scanning for danger when you should be sleeping. These aren't flaws, my friend. These aren't things wrong with you. These are the very reasons you exist at all. Let that sink in as your body grows heavier, more relaxed. For 200,000 years, your genetic line survived ice ages that could kill you in minutes. They survived saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than your fingers. They survived starvation, floods, volcanic eruptions, and endless nights when death prowled just beyond the firelight. And they survived because your ancestors couldn't simply turn off their minds. They survived because they stayed alert, because they cared, because they worried enough to keep everyone safe. That restless energy you feel at 2 a.m, that mental chatter that keeps you awake. That's your inner sentinel. That's the same watchful presence that kept your great-great-grandmother alive when massive predators prowled outside her shelter. That's the same caring vigilance that noticed when the baby's breathing changed, when the fire was burning too low, when someone in the family needed comfort in the dark hours. Your brain doesn't know that the mortgage payment isn't a pack of wolves circling your cave. It doesn't understand that your work deadline isn't an approaching blizzard that could starve your entire family. Your ancient mind is still doing what it has always done. Working overtime, scanning for threats, solving problems, protecting the people you love. Because it loves you too much to ever let its guard down. But here's the profound truth your ancestors knew that we've somehow forgotten in our modern world. Even the most vigilant guardian needs to rest. Even the most devoted protector must sleep. And they created sacred rituals, protective circles, and stories that gave the worried mind permission to finally, safely let go. Imagine looking through your ancestors' eyes now as they perform their evening ritual. Feel how they bank the fire carefully for the night, adding just enough wood to keep the flames alive until dawn. Watch as they check that everyone in their small, precious tribe is accounted for, safe, breathing peacefully. See how they arrange their simple tools within easy reach, not from fear, but from the quiet confidence of someone who has done everything possible to ensure everyone's safety. And then finally, watch as they allow their exhausted body to sink into those soft animal pelts, feeling the warmth of the family sleeping close beside them, knowing with absolute certainty that they've done their job well. They've provided, they've protected, they've cared for those they love. And now it's time to rest. Feel your own body sinking deeper now, mimicking that ancient surrender. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands uncurl and rest gently wherever feels most comfortable. You are safe here. You are cared for here. You belong here just as your ancestors belonged to their tribe, just as you belong to the great human family that stretches back through time. Tonight, you're going to discover 3 ancient sleep secrets that allowed our species to rest peacefully even in the most dangerous times in human history. Secrets that your DNA remembers even if your conscious mind has forgotten. Secrets that will transform your relationship with sleep forever, because they're not really secrets at all. They're your birthright. They're the wisdom that lives in your bones, in your breath, in the very rhythm of your beating heart. Rest now, knowing that your restless mind isn't broken.
It's ancestral.
It's protective.
It's beautiful. And it's finally ready to come home.
Feel your breathing slow even deeper now as we begin creating the safest space humans have ever known. Not just physical safety, though that's important too, but the deep, soul-level emotional security that comes from knowing you belong to something larger and more loving than yourself. Your Ice Age family didn't just survive those long, dark nights. They thrived through them. They found joy in the darkness, comfort in the cold, and profound peace in times that would terrify most modern people. Picture their evening ritual now, and as you do, let your body naturally arrange itself in whatever position feels most comfortable, most safe, most like home. As the sun disappeared behind those massive walls of ice, casting the world into what would be 16 hours of darkness, your ancestors didn't fight it. They didn't curse the night or wish for electric lights or scroll through glowing screens to avoid the quiet.
No, they welcomed the darkness like an old friend.
They embraced it like a gift. Watch now as the eldest member of the family begins the sacred fire-tending ritual. See how their weathered hands that have survived decades of harsh winters, carefully select each piece of wood. Notice how they don't just throw fuel on the flames carelessly, but arrange each log with the precision of someone performing a sacred ceremony.
Because that's exactly what they're doing.
They understand that the fire isn't just heat and light. It's the heart of the home, the guardian of the night, the sacred center around which all safety revolves. Now watch the younger adults as they begin arranging the sleeping furs in a protective circle around that precious fire. See how they don't just toss the bedding down randomly, but create a careful pattern, a loving arrangement where everyone will be close enough to share warmth, close enough to hear each other's breathing, close enough to offer comfort if the dreams become too intense or the night sounds too frightening.
And the children. Oh, watch the children now as they gather the smoothest, flattest stones from around the fire's edge.
These aren't toys, they're ancient technology. Heat collectors that they'll warm by the flames, then carry to their sleeping places to keep their feet cozy through the long night ahead. Watch their small hands working with such purpose, such understanding of what truly matters. But the most important element of their evening sanctuary isn't physical at all. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the safety that comes from knowing, absolutely knowing, that you matter. Before sleep, they perform what anthropologists now call the gratitude circle. But it was so much more than just saying thank you. Picture yourself sitting in this circle now, feeling the warmth of the fire on your face, smelling the comforting scent of wood smoke and warm furs. Feel the solid presence of your family around you, people who would die to protect you, people who need you just as much as you need them. In this circle, each person shares one thing they're grateful for from that day. Not grand achievements or impressive accomplishments, but simple, beautiful moments. I'm grateful for the fresh water we found by the fallen tree.
I'm grateful for the way the
baby smiled when I made that silly face.
I'm grateful for the warmth of sun on my skin during the brief afternoon. I'm grateful for the sound of laughter when we were working together. Feel how this simple
practice settles your nervous system. Feel how just imagining being part of this circle creates a sense of belonging that your modern world rarely provides.
This is what your soul craves.
This is what your ancient brain is searching for when it keeps you awake at night, scanning for connection, for meaning, for the deep assurance that you're not alone in the world. Your bedroom right now can become this same sanctuary, not through expensive mattresses or perfect blackout curtains, though those things certainly help, but by recreating the emotional safety that allowed your ancestors to sleep surrounded by genuine, life-threatening danger. They had something we've lost in our individual, isolated modern lives. They had absolute certainty that they belonged, that they mattered, that someone would watch over them while they rested. Place your hand on your heart now and feel it beating. This is the same rhythm that lulled countless generations to sleep. This is the same faithful drum that has been beating in unbroken sequence from your earliest ancestor to you right here, right now. Say quietly, either out loud or in the silence of your mind, I am part of an unbroken chain of survivors.
I belong here.
I am safe enough to rest. The beautiful secret, the truth that will set your worried mind free, is that this safety doesn't require perfection. Your ancestors slept deeply even when tomorrow was uncertain, even when resources were scarce, even when people they loved were sick or struggling. They knew something profound that we're only now remembering, that rest itself is an act of trust. Sleep is a gift we give to the future version of ourselves, a vote of confidence that tomorrow will come and we'll be ready to meet it. See yourself now pulling the softest blanket around your shoulders, and as you do, understand that this isn't just for warmth. This is a symbol, a physical reminder that you belong to the human family that has been tucking each other in for thousands and thousands of generations. Feel the weight of these covers as the protective embrace of everyone who came before you, everyone who stayed awake so you could sleep, everyone who worked and worried and loved so you could be here tonight, safe and cared for. Your ancient family is still with you. Their love surrounds you now like the warmest cave, like the most protective circle. You are never, ever alone. You are wrapped in 40,000 years of successful sleep, held by countless generations who faced their fears and found their peace and passed their wisdom down through their very DNA to you. In our next journey together, we'll discover why your ancestors actually slept better during those long Ice Age nights than most people do today, and the shocking reason why darkness was their greatest ally, not their enemy. Let your eyelids grow heavy now as we journey to a time when 16-hour nights weren't something to endure, but precious gifts that your ancestors treasured more than gold, more than safety, more than anything else in their difficult but beautiful world. During the peak Ice Ages, darkness lasted up to 16 hours each day. When modern people hear this, they imagine it sounds like a nightmare, like something to survive rather than enjoy. But for your ancestors, for your ancestors, it was paradise. It was the most treasured time, the hours they looked forward to all day long. Anthropologists have discovered something remarkable. Ice Age humans had the most sophisticated sleep culture in human history. They didn't see those long, dark hours as empty time to fill with worry or restless thoughts. They saw darkness as sacred space where souls were restored, where families grew closer, where the deepest healing happened. They understood something beautiful that we've forgotten. That darkness isn't the absence of light, it's the presence of peace. Feel your breathing naturally slowing as you imagine this ancient wisdom. They divided their long nights into 3 beautiful phases, each one a gift, each one essential for different kinds of healing. First came the gathering, those precious hours of sharing food and stories, of laughter and connection, of strengthening the bonds that held their small tribe together. Then came the dreaming, the deep, restorative sleep that allowed their bodies to heal from the day's challenges, their minds to process new information, their hearts to find peace with whatever struggles they were facing. And finally, most beautifully, came the visioning, that peaceful time of half-sleep where creative insights floated up from the subconscious, where spiritual understanding deepened, where solutions to complex problems simply appeared in the gentle space between sleeping and waking. Each phase had its own rituals, its own purpose, its own irreplaceable gift to offer. They'd never rush from one to the next. They savored each moment, understanding that these dark hours weren't interrupting their lives. They were the foundation of their lives. Your brain is still wired for this ancient three-phase cycle. That middle of the night awakening you might experience, the one that worries you and makes you think something's wrong with your sleep,
That's not insomnia, my friend.
that's your ancestral visioning time trying to emerge. Before electric light stole the natural rhythm from human life, people routinely had two separate sleep periods with a peaceful, meditative wake period between them. This wasn't broken sleep, this was complete sleep. This was sleep the way human beings were designed to sleep, with space for both deep physical restoration and gentle spiritual connection. Notice how your breathing has naturally slowed just from imagining this. Your body remembers. Your cells remember. Your DNA carries the memory of countless peaceful nights when darkness was a friend, not an enemy. Whisper now, either aloud or in the quiet of your heart. My rest has purpose. My dreams have meaning. My sleep is sacred. The gathering phase begins now for you, just as it did for them. Even though you might be alone in your modern bed, you're not truly alone. You're joined by invisible threads of connection to everyone who has ever struggled to find peace in the darkness. Everyone who has ever needed rest. Everyone who has ever been held by love while they slept. Picture yourself now in a circle of gentle light, surrounded by faces that mirror your own curiosity and care. Some are the faces of your ancestors, weathered by wind and time but warm with love. Some are the faces of your descendants, not yet born, but already cherished, already protected by the rest you're giving yourself tonight. And some are the faces of everyone, everywhere, who is seeking the same peace you're seeking right now. The darkness beyond this circle isn't threatening, it's protective. It's like being safely tucked away in the universe's most nurturing embrace, held by something so much larger and more loving than any individual worry or fear you might carry. Feel how this ancient understanding transforms your relationship with nighttime. Your ancestors looked forward to the dark hours because they knew that's when the most important work happened. Not the work of doing, but the work of being.
Not the work of achieving, but the work of healing.
Not the work of solving, but the work of simply existing in peace. They understood that human beings aren't machines designed to run constantly. We're organic creatures with natural rhythms, natural needs for stillness and quiet and gentle restoration. They honored these rhythms instead of fighting them. They worked with their body's wisdom instead of against it. Tonight, as darkness settles around you wherever you are, remember that you're not battling against your natural state. You're returning to it. You're coming home to the rhythm that has sustained human life for countless generations. You're joining the great flow of rest and renewal that connects you to everyone who came before and everyone who will come after. In our next journey together, we'll uncover the surprising truth about why Ice Age humans had virtually no anxiety disorders, despite facing dangers that would overwhelm most modern minds. We'll discover the simple evening practice that eliminated 90% of their daily stress, a practice so beautiful and so effective that it could transform your life starting tonight. Feel your shoulders releasing their tension now as we discover why your ancestors lived with remarkable emotional resilience, even in the harshest, most challenging conditions imaginable. Let your jaw soften as we uncover the secret that kept them psychologically healthy when their daily survival depended on facing fears that would paralyze most modern people. Archaeological evidence reveals something absolutely astonishing. Despite facing predators that could kill them in seconds, despite enduring starvation that lasted for weeks, despite surviving brutal weather that could freeze their bodies solid, Ice Age humans showed remarkably few signs of chronic stress disorders. Their skeletons don't show the physical markers of prolonged anxiety. Their cave art doesn't depict the tortured mental loops of obsessive worry. Their burial sites suggest people who lived and died with a fundamental sense of inner peace.
How is this possible?
How did they manage to stay emotionally balanced when their daily reality included genuine life or death challenges that would send most of us into complete psychological meltdown? Their secret wasn't avoiding difficulty, because that was impossible in their world. Their secret wasn't having easy lives, because no lives have ever been more challenging. Their secret was something so simple, so powerful, and so completely natural that we've overlooked it in our complex modern world. They processed their stress completely before sleep, every single night, without fail. Let your breathing deepen as you imagine their evening ritual. After the day's work was done, after the food was shared and the fire was tended and everyone was safe, they created sacred time for what we now recognize as the most effective stress release technique ever developed: communal emotional processing. They didn't bottle up their fears like we do. They didn't push through pain alone like we do. They didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't, or smile when they felt like crying, or carry their burdens in isolation. Instead, they created sacred, protected time for sharing those burdens, for celebrating victories together, for collectively making meaning from the day's challenges. Picture this now, and as you do, let your body settle even deeper into comfort. The tribal elder, usually the person with the most life experience and the deepest wisdom, would look around the circle with eyes full of love and ask 3 simple questions. Just 3 questions, but they were more powerful than any modern therapy, more healing than any medication, more effective than any stress management technique we've ever invented. What challenged you today? First, the complete, honest acknowledgement of difficulty. Not dismissing it, not minimizing it, not comparing it to anyone else's challenges, but simply witnessing and honoring the reality that life included struggle, that growing strong required facing hard things, that being human meant sometimes feeling overwhelmed. What did you learn? Second, the recognition that every challenge carried a gift, every difficulty offered wisdom, every problem contained the seeds of greater understanding. Not because challenges were good, but because humans are incredibly resilient and creative, always growing, always learning, always becoming more than they were before. What are you grateful for? And finally, the conscious choice to end each day by remembering what was working, what was beautiful, what was worth fighting for. Not fake gratitude or forced positivity, but the genuine appreciation that comes from having faced darkness and still being able to see light. Each person in the circle answered these questions honestly, completely, without judgment from others and without advice giving. This wasn't about fixing anyone or solving all the problems. This was about witnessing and being witnessed, about sharing the human experience in all its complexity, about remembering that no one has to carry their burdens entirely alone. Your nervous system craves this same ritual. When stress cycles remain incomplete, when emotions get stuck halfway through processing, they store in your body as tension, as racing thoughts, as that restless energy that keeps you awake long after you should be sleeping peacefully. But when you consciously complete the cycle, when you acknowledge what was difficult, recognize what you learned, and appreciate what you're grateful for, your brain gets the clear signal that it's safe to let go, safe to restore, safe to trust that tomorrow's challenges will be met with tomorrow's strength. Ask yourself now, gently, with the same loving attention your ancestors gave each other, what challenged me today? Don't search for the perfect answer or the most impressive struggle. Just let whatever arises be welcome. Maybe it was a difficult conversation, or a worry about money, or feeling overwhelmed by your responsibilities. Maybe it was something small that felt big, or something big that you've been trying to pretend was small.
What did I learn?
Again, no need for profound insights or life-changing realizations. Maybe you learned that you're stronger than you thought, or that asking for help isn't weakness, or that some problems resolve themselves if you give them time. Maybe you learned something about yourself, or about someone you love, or about how the world works. What am I grateful for? Let your heart soften as you consider this question. Maybe you're grateful for a moment of unexpected kindness, or for having food to eat, or for the simple miracle that your body carried you safely through another day. Maybe you're grateful for someone who loves you, or for a moment of beauty you noticed, or for the fact that you're here, now, giving yourself the gift of peaceful rest. As you honor both your struggles and your growth, feel how your body naturally begins to soften, just as it did for countless generations around countless fires. This is your heritage.
This is your birthright.
This is the ancient wisdom that lives in your bones, waiting patiently for you to remember how to access it. Imagine placing the day's worries into the flames of that ancestral fire now, watching them transform into smoke that rises and disperses into the star-filled sky, leaving only warmth and light, only peace and belonging, only the gentle satisfaction of another day lived fully.
Another night ready to restore you completely.
Allow your mind to drift now like smoke from a sacred fire, knowing that what awaits you in dreams is not random, not meaningless, not just your brain clearing out useless information. What awaits you in the mysterious realm of sleep is purposeful, meaningful, and deeply connected to the most sophisticated survival wisdom your species has ever developed. Recent archaeological discoveries have completely revolutionized our understanding of Ice Age consciousness, and what they've revealed will change how you think about your own dreams forever. Those cave paintings that cover the walls of ancient shelters, the ones we thought were just primitive art,
They're not just art at all.
they're dream maps. They're visual records of the most important technology your ancestors possessed, the ability to learn, practice, and prepare for life through the magic of dreaming. Your ancestors understood something that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. Dreams weren't meaningless brain static, random firing of neurons during sleep. Dreams were sophisticated survival simulations, detailed practice sessions that literally kept them alive in a world where one mistake could mean death for an entire family. Feel your breathing slowing even more as you consider this ancient wisdom. During those long, precious nights, Ice Age humans practiced what researchers now call threat rehearsal. Their dreaming minds would run through potential dangers like a flight simulator, practicing solutions, testing different responses, strengthening the neural pathways they might need for actual survival. They would dream of escaping from massive predators, their sleeping brains rehearsing the exact muscle movements needed to dodge claws and fangs. They would dream of finding water during terrible droughts, their subconscious minds mapping the landscape, remembering subtle signs that indicated hidden springs. They would dream of navigating through blizzards, their inner compass learning to read the wind patterns and snow formations that could guide them safely home. Their dreams literally kept them alive, not just by helping them sleep and restore their bodies, but by preparing them for challenges they hadn't yet faced, by giving them practice with dangers they might never encounter, but needed to be ready for just in case. But your ancestors knew that dreams carried an even deeper, more beautiful gift: innovation. Archaeological evidence suggests that humanity's greatest breakthrough technologies first appeared not in waking consciousness, but in the mysterious realm of sleep. The spear thrower, the sewn clothing that kept them warm through impossible cold, the controlled use of fire that transformed human civilization. All of these revolutionary innovations seem to have emerged from the dreaming mind first, then been brought into waking reality by people who paid attention to their sleep visions. Your dreams are still running this ancient software. When you dream about work challenges, relationship conflicts, or future scenarios that worry you, your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do over hundreds of thousands of years. It's preparing you for success and survival. It's running simulations, testing solutions, strengthening your ability to handle whatever life might bring. Every anxiety dream,
Every nightmare that startles you awake, every confusing sequence of images that makes no logical sense.
these are your mind's way of practicing resilience, of working through fears, of preparing you to be stronger and wiser and more capable than you were when you went to sleep. Think of a recent dream now, even just a fragment, even something that seemed completely meaningless or bizarre. Instead of dismissing it as random nonsense, whisper, "Thank you to your dreaming mind for working so hard to prepare you for life." Thank you for staying active even while your body rests. Thank you for caring enough about your well-being to keep processing, keep learning, keep growing even in sleep. Your ancestors honored their dreams as sacred gifts. They understood that the wisdom received in sleep was just as valuable as knowledge gained while awake, sometimes even more valuable because it came from deeper sources, from the part of the mind that isn't limited by conscious fears or social expectations. They would wake up and share their dreams with the family, not as entertainment, but as important information. I dreamed of following a river to a new hunting ground. I dreamed of a way to make the shelter warmer. I dreamed that the baby was trying to tell us something important. Dreams were treated as messages from the wise part of the self, guidance from the mysterious intelligence that operates beyond ordinary thinking. See yourself now as part of this endless chain of dreamers, each generation passing down not just genes and cultural knowledge, but the sacred ability to learn, grow, and adapt through the gift of dream consciousness. You are connected to every human being who ever closed their eyes and trusted their sleeping mind to do important work. Every ancestor who ever received guidance through dreams. Every person who ever solved a problem or found inspiration in the mysterious realm of sleep. Your dreaming mind is ancient technology refined over millennia to serve your highest good. It's not broken when it gives you strange or uncomfortable dreams. It's working. It's caring for you. It's preparing you. It's helping you become the strongest, wisest, most resilient version of yourself possible. As you prepare to enter this sacred realm tonight, remember that you're not just going unconscious. You're activating the most sophisticated learning and preparation system ever developed. You're joining countless generations of successful dreamers, people who trusted their sleeping minds to help them thrive in challenging times.
Rest now in the knowledge that your dreams serve you even when you don't understand them.
Sleep peacefully, knowing that your subconscious mind is working on your behalf, processing the day's experiences, preparing for tomorrow's opportunities, connecting you to wisdom that transcends your ordinary thinking. In our next journey, we'll explore the shocking truth about why Ice Age humans had better mental health than most modern populations, despite facing challenges that would overwhelm contemporary minds. We'll discover the simple practice that can restore your emotional well-being in just 1 week, a practice so natural and so powerful that your ancestors used it every single day without even thinking about it. Feel your heart rate slowing now as we uncover the profound emotional wisdom that kept your ancestors psychologically healthy even during humanity's most challenging era. Let your whole body relax as we discover why people who face daily life or death struggles had better mental health than most people living in our safe, comfortable modern world. Anthropologists studying Ice Age remains have made a startling discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about depression, anxiety, and emotional well-being. Evidence of chronic depression, persistent anxiety disorders, and emotional dysfunction is remarkably rare in archaeological records from this period. This isn't because life was easier for your ancestors, because it definitely, absolutely wasn't. This is because Ice Age culture contained natural antidepressants that we've completely abandoned in our modern rush toward individual achievement and isolated living. The most powerful natural antidepressant they possessed was something so simple, so fundamental, that we barely notice its absence in contemporary life: essential contribution. Every single person in their tribe, from the youngest child who could carry water to the eldest grandmother who could no longer hunt but could still share wisdom,
had roles that directly impacted everyone else's survival.
There was no such thing as feeling useless or worthless in their world, because your existence literally meant life or death for people you loved. The child who gathered kindling wasn't doing busy work to stay out of the way. That kindling kept the fire burning, and the fire meant survival through the night. The elder, who could no longer run or fight, wasn't a burden taking up resources. Their memory held the locations of water sources, the patterns of weather changes, the stories that held the tribe's identity together. Feel how different this is from modern life, where so many people struggle with questions of purpose and meaning. Your ancestors never wondered if they mattered because their contribution was immediately visible, directly connected to the well-being of everyone they cared about. But even more powerful than individual contribution was their approach to social connection. They practiced what we now recognize as the most effective treatment for depression: mandatory belonging. Not forced interaction or artificial socializing, but genuine, unavoidable interdependence. You couldn't be isolated in their world even if you wanted to be. You slept touching other people, shared meals together, worked as a team, faced challenges as a unified group. Loneliness simply couldn't take root because isolation was literally impossible. When one person was struggling, everyone was affected, so everyone was invested in everyone else's well-being. This wasn't always comfortable or easy. There were personality conflicts, disagreements, moments of irritation and frustration, just like in any family. But there was never the crushing isolation that characterizes so much modern depression. Never the terrible feeling that you're struggling alone while everyone else seems to have their life figured out. Your brain is wired for this same sense of essential purpose and deep belonging. When you feel depressed or anxious, often you're not experiencing a chemical imbalance or a character flaw or a failure of willpower. Often, you're responding completely normally to an environment that lacks the social and meaningful structures your genetics expect to find. Depression, in many cases, isn't a disease. It's a rational response to an irrational world, a healthy reaction to unhealthy circumstances, your soul's way of saying something essential is missing from my life. Your ancestors rarely experienced this soul sickness because their daily existence included all the elements that prevent it: meaningful work, essential contribution, unavoidable belonging, and the constant reminder that their life had purpose beyond their own individual happiness. Place both hands on your chest now and feel your breath moving in and out. This body has inherited unbroken strength from survivors of the harshest conditions Earth has ever known. You carry their resilience in every cell, their wisdom in every heartbeat, their capacity for joy, even in difficult circumstances. The beautiful truth is that you don't need to recreate Ice Age conditions to access this emotional strength. Understanding your lineage, recognizing your heritage, remembering that you come from an unbroken chain of people who found meaning and connection and purpose even in the most challenging times. This understanding alone begins to restore what's been missing. You matter not because of what you achieve or accomplish, but because you exist. You belong not because you've earned it or deserve it, but because you're human, and humans are pack animals who evolved to care for each other. You have purpose not because you found the perfect career or life path, but because your very presence affects everyone around you in ways you may never fully know. When you smile at a stranger, when you hold a door, when you listen to someone who needs to be heard, when you simply show up in the world with kindness and presence, you're fulfilling the same essential function your ancestors served in their small tribes. You're contributing to the great human project of taking care of each other, of making life a little easier for everyone you encounter. Feel how this recognition settles something deep in your chest, how understanding your essential place in the human family creates a sense of belonging that no individual achievement could ever provide. You are not separate from the great chain of human connection. You are part of it, necessary to it, irreplaceable within it. Imagine being welcomed into a circle of your ancestors now, each weathered face reflecting back to you your inherent worth, your essential place in the great story of survival and love and mutual care. See how their eyes light up when they see you, how proud they are that their lineage has continued, how grateful they are that you're here, carrying their strength into the future. Tonight, as you rest, you're not just recovering from your individual day, you're participating in the great human ritual of restoration, preparing to contribute your unique gifts to the ongoing project of making life beautiful and meaningful for everyone whose path crosses yours. Let your busy mind be exactly as it is right now, knowing that this very activity, this mental energy that might keep you awake, connects you to the most creative, innovative, and successful period in human history. Don't try to quiet your thoughts.
Instead, welcome them as the sacred inheritance they truly are.
Here's what nobody tells you about Ice Age humans, what gets lost in all our romantic notions about simple, peaceful, ancient life. They were the most psychologically active people who ever lived. Their minds never stopped working because mental activity literally meant survival. They had to track complex weather patterns across seasons, remember intricate migration routes that changed year by year, solve challenging social dynamics within their small groups, create new tools from available materials, and constantly adapt to changing conditions that could kill them if they guessed wrong. Their brains were always busy. Always processing, always analyzing, always preparing for the next challenge or opportunity. Sound familiar? That racing mind you might have at bedtime, the one that jumps from thought to thought, worry to worry, idea to idea. That's not insomnia.
That's not a disorder.
That's your inherited genius, trying to contribute to a tribe that no longer exists in the same way. But your ancestors had something we've lost. They had a sacred framework for channeling all that mental activity into something beautiful and useful. They didn't see busy minds as restless or problematic. They treasured mental activity as their tribe's greatest resource, their most valuable survival tool. Feel your breathing naturally deepening as you imagine their evening ritual of mind gifting. After the day's physical work was done, after everyone was fed and safe, they would gather around the fire for the sharing of mental discoveries. This wasn't casual conversation or idle chatter. This was the sacred time when the tribe's collective intelligence was strengthened and expanded. One person might share a new insight about hunting patterns they'd observed. I noticed the deer are moving differently this season, following the ridgeline instead of the valley. I think they're avoiding something. Another might offer a dream interpretation or a solution to a problem that had been puzzling the group.
I figured out why the water trap keeps failing.
We need to angle it differently to catch the morning flow. Someone else might share a creative breakthrough, a new way of napping flint or weaving grass that could make their tools more effective, their shelters more comfortable. What if we split the reeds this way instead? Look how much stronger the binding becomes. Every racing thought, every middle-of-the-night worry, every creative spark that flickered through someone's busy mind was seen as a potential gift to the entire community. Nothing was wasted. Everything had the possibility of meaning within their shared story of survival and thriving. Your modern racing thoughts at bedtime follow exactly the same patterns. Your brain is still trying to solve everyone's problems, still scanning for potential dangers that need addressing, still generating innovations and solutions and creative ideas, because that's precisely what kept your genetic line alive through impossible challenges. When you lie in bed and your mind jumps from work concerns to family worries to that creative project you want to start to whether you remembered to lock the door to wondering if you're living up to your potential, you're not experiencing pathological anxiety. You're experiencing completely normal human protective instincts and creative intelligence, but without the ancient framework for processing and channeling all that mental energy. Your busy mind isn't broken.
That is brilliant.
It's trying to contribute to the collective well-being, trying to solve problems, trying to create and protect and improve life for everyone you care about. The challenge isn't that you think too much. The challenge is that you're trying to carry the mental load that once belonged to an entire tribe, and you're doing it without the communal support system that made all that thinking productive instead of overwhelming. Instead of fighting your racing mind tonight, try honoring it the way your ancestors did. Instead of getting frustrated with thoughts that won't quiet down, try thanking them for caring so much about your well-being and the well-being of everyone you love. Say to your busy mind, gently and with genuine appreciation, "Thank you for working so hard to keep me safe. Thank you for trying to solve all these problems. Thank you for caring about everyone I love. Thank you for all the creative ideas and protective concerns and innovative solutions. You can rest now. The tribe is safe." Tomorrow we can work together on whatever needs attention, but right now, it's time for restoration. When you acknowledge your mental activity instead of resisting it, when you appreciate your racing thoughts instead of judging them, something magical happens. Your mind finally gets permission to rest. Not because you've forced it to be quiet, but because you've honored its efforts and given it the recognition it's been seeking. Picture your thoughts now as fireflies in the gentle darkness, each one carrying a little spark of wisdom or care. Watch them gently settle as the peaceful night embraces them, their tiny lights flickering slower and softer until they merge with the starlight, beautiful and purposeful and finally at peace. Your ancestors knew that the most creative, most protective, most innovative minds often took the longest to settle into sleep. But they also knew that once those minds were properly honored and given permission to rest, they produced the deepest, most restorative sleep of all. The minds that worked hardest during the day were also the minds that healed most completely during the night. Rest now knowing that your active mind isn't your enemy. It's your inheritance, your gift, your connection to countless generations of humans whose busy, caring, creative thoughts kept everyone safe and helped everyone thrive. Tonight, let all that beautiful mental energy settle like snow, covering the world in peaceful quiet, while your brilliant mind does its deepest healing work in dreams. Feel your body naturally finding its most comfortable position now as we discover the ancient wisdom that's literally built into your bones and muscles, programmed into your very DNA through countless generations of optimal sleep positioning. Archaeological evidence from Ice Age burial sites reveals fascinating, detailed information about how your ancestors arranged themselves for sleep. They weren't sprawled out like modern people with endless bed space and individual mattresses. They didn't sleep in isolation, each person claiming their separate territory. No, they slept in what researchers now call protective clustering, and the specific positions they chose weren't random or just about conserving space. Picture this ancient scene with me now, and as you do, let your body naturally arrange itself in whatever way feels most safe and comfortable. Your Ice Age family slept curled on their sides, often back to back with people they loved and trusted, knees drawn up in a gentle fetal position,
arms crossed comfortably over their chests or tucked under their heads for warmth.
This wasn't just about staying warm in brutal cold, though that was certainly part of it. This wasn't just about space conservation in small shelters, though that mattered too. These sleeping positions were actually activating what we now know as the parasympathetic restoration posture, the exact body alignment that signals to your nervous system that you're safe enough for the deepest levels of repair and regeneration. When you curl up on your side with your knees slightly drawn toward your chest, you're not being childish or regressive. You're accessing ancient wisdom. You're positioning your body in the way that most effectively protects your vital organs, while allowing your spine to maintain its natural curve. You're creating the physical conditions that tell your brain at the deepest level that all is well and deep healing can begin. Your ancestors also rotated through different sleeping positions throughout the night in specific patterns that maximize different phases of restoration. They would begin the night side sleeping, the position that allows the brain's cleaning system to work most efficiently, washing away the metabolic waste that accumulates during waking hours. Later in the night, they might shift to sleeping on their backs, the position that provides optimal spinal alignment and allows the deepest breathing patterns. And in the early morning hours, many would naturally return to that gentle fetal positioning that provides the greatest sense of emotional security and prepares the nervous system for the gradual transition back to waking consciousness. They didn't think about these position changes consciously. Their bodies simply knew through millions of years of evolutionary programming how to move through the night in ways that served different aspects of restoration and healing. Your body still carries this same muscle memory, this same intuitive wisdom about optimal sleep positioning. When you find yourself naturally wanting to curl up, when you feel the urge to draw your knees toward your chest or to sleep close to a partner or pet, When you instinctively cross your arms over your chest or tuck a pillow between your knees, you're not being needy or childish. You're accessing ancestral wisdom that knows exactly how to position your physical form for the deepest possible healing. Modern sleep advice often focuses on what's correct, according to current research. But your ancestors didn't need research. They had something more reliable. They had thousands of generations of successful sleepers whose bodies had learned, through trial and survival, exactly how to rest most effectively. Right now, notice how your body wants to position itself. Don't override these instincts with ideas about how you think you should sleep.
Honor the wisdom that's built into your very bones.
Let yourself curl up in whatever way feels most comforting, most secure, most like home, even if it doesn't match some external standard of proper sleep posture. If you want to hug a pillow to your chest, do it. If you want to draw your knees up, do it. If you want to lie on your side with your hands tucked under your cheek, do it.
These aren't signs of immaturity or neediness.
These are expressions of deep body wisdom that knows how to activate your most profound healing responses. As your body settles into whatever position feels most natural and comfortable, feel how this simple act of honoring your physical instincts begins to activate relaxation responses that have been waiting in your genes for millennia. Your nervous system recognizes these ancestral positions and begins automatically shifting into restoration mode, just as it did for countless generations of your family line. Imagine yourself now surrounded by the gentle breathing of your sleeping tribe, each person positioned for optimal safety and comfort, all of you protected by the circle of care you've created together. Feel how this ancient positioning connects you not just to your own deepest healing, but to the great human tradition of shared rest, mutual protection, and collective restoration. Your body knows how to sleep. It carries the memory of perfect rest in every muscle, every joint, every instinctive movement toward comfort and security. Trust these ancient patterns. Trust the wisdom that has been refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Trust your body to position itself in exactly the way that will serve your deepest healing tonight. As you settle into your most natural, comfortable position, know that you're not just finding a way to sleep. You're activating ancient technology, engaging restoration systems that have been tested and perfected through countless generations of successful rest. Your body remembers how to heal itself completely, and it begins that beautiful work the moment you give it permission to arrange itself according to its own deep wisdom. Feel your body settling even deeper now as we explore how your ancestors achieved the most profound, restorative sleep even when food was scarce, even when resources were limited, even when survival itself was never guaranteed. Let your breathing slow as we discover the counterintuitive truth that some of their most peaceful sleep happened during their most challenging times. Here's something that might completely change your understanding of the relationship between comfort and rest. Ice Age, humans often slept their most deeply restorative sleep during periods of scarcity. Archaeological evidence suggests that times of food shortage were actually associated with improved sleep quality, not worse. This seems impossible to our modern minds that equate comfort with better rest. But your ancestors understood something profound about the relationship between hunger and healing that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. When food became scarce in their harsh world, they didn't panic. They didn't stay awake all night worrying about where the next meal would come from or how they would survive. Instead, they consciously entered what they called conservation mode, a deeply restful state that allowed their bodies to maintain optimal function on minimal resources while their minds remained peacefully focused on what truly mattered. They had specific, beautiful rituals for what we might call scarcity sleep. First came gentle stretching, slow, mindful movements that released the physical tension that could build up when the body was stressed by limited resources. They understood that tight muscles require more energy to maintain, so they consciously relaxed every part of their physical form before rest. Then came the sharing of abundant stories, not as wishful thinking or denial of their current reality, but as a way of maintaining hope and connection to the natural cycles of plenty and scarcity that governed their world. They would remind each other of times when food was plentiful, when the hunting was good, when the plants were bearing fruit, not to make themselves feel worse about the present, but to maintain their deep trust that abundance would return. Most importantly, they practiced what we would now call gratitude meditation, but it was far more sophisticated than simply counting blessings. They focused intensely, completely, on appreciation for whatever small comforts were available to them. The warmth of the fire, the softness of their furs, the sound of their families breathing, the fact that they were together, that they were alive, that they had survived another day. But here's the most profound part of their approach to sleeping through scarcity. They used hunger itself as a spiritual teacher. They understood that the discomfort of wanting something they couldn't have was actually preparation for appreciating abundance when it inevitably returned. Scarcity taught them that survival didn't require having everything they wanted. It required finding peace with what they had. This wasn't passive resignation or giving up hope for better times. This was the deep wisdom of conserving energy for what they could actually influence while releasing their death grip on what they could not control. They knew that fighting against circumstances they couldn't change was the fastest way to exhaust themselves, to waste the precious resources they needed for actual survival. Your relationship with desire follows exactly the same ancient programming. Whether you're worried about not having enough money, enough time, enough love, enough security, enough success, enough recognition, your brain is running the same survival anxiety programs that kept your ancestors alert during lean times. The difference is that your ancestors had cultural wisdom for transforming this anxiety into restful acceptance, while modern culture teaches us to fight against limitations, to stay agitated about things we can't control, to exhaust ourselves trying to force outcomes that may not be possible in the timeline we want. When you lie awake at night worrying about not having enough of something you need or want, you're experiencing the same protective concern that helped your ancestors stay motivated to find resources and create security. But you can also access their wisdom for finding peace within uncertainty, for sleeping deeply even when tomorrow isn't guaranteed to bring everything you hope for. Think now of something you're worried about not having enough of. Maybe it's money or time or love or recognition or security or health or opportunities. Feel how this concern creates tension in your body, energy that wants to be active, solving and searching and working toward getting more of what you need. Now imagine your ancestors' weathered hand on your shoulder and their gentle voice saying, "Child, you have survived 100% of your worst days so far. You have made it through every period of scarcity, every time when you didn't have enough, every challenge that seemed too big to handle. Rest now and trust that you'll meet tomorrow's challenges with tomorrow's strength, just as you always have." This isn't about giving up your dreams or accepting less than you deserve. This is about the profound wisdom of distinguishing between productive concern that leads to helpful action and unproductive worry that only exhausts you without creating any positive change. Your ancestors knew that the best preparation for tomorrow's challenges was tonight's complete restoration. They understood that a well-rested mind finds solutions that an anxious, exhausted mind could never discover. They knew that peace of mind wasn't a luxury they could afford only during easy times. It was essential medicine they needed most during difficult times. Feel how this ancient understanding begins to shift something in your relationship with your current concerns. You can care about having enough without destroying your peace. You can work toward your goals without sacrificing your rest. You can acknowledge what's missing from your life while still appreciating what's present. Picture yourself now in that simple Ice Age shelter, perhaps not perfectly warm, perhaps not perfectly fed, but surrounded by people who love you enough to share whatever they have. Feel how this sense of belonging, this knowledge that you're not facing challenges alone, creates a safety that no amount of individual resources could ever provide. Your ancestors slept peacefully through scarcity because they knew something we've forgotten in our individualistic culture, that having enough was never just about individual accumulation. It was about being part of a community that cared for each other, about knowing that everyone's well-being was connected, about understanding that sharing limited resources often created more security than hoarding them. Tonight you can access this same peace, not because all your problems are solved, not because you have everything you want, but because you're part of something larger than your individual concerns. You belong to the human family that has been sharing resources and caring for each other through times of plenty, times of scarcity for thousands of generations. Rest now in the knowledge that you have enough for tonight. You have enough air to breathe, enough warmth to be comfortable, enough safety to let your guard down, enough love in your life to sustain you through whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. And that, as your ancestors knew so well, is actually everything you need for the deepest, most restorative sleep possible. Allow your breathing to deepen even more now as we discover how your ancestors transformed fear from an enemy of sleep into sleep's most trusted guardian and protector. Let your body relax completely as we explore the revolutionary Ice Age approach to handling fear that allowed them to sleep peacefully even when genuine, life-threatening dangers surrounded them every single night. Modern people think that fear and sleep are natural enemies, that you can't rest peacefully if you're afraid of anything. But your Ice Age ancestors knew something profound that we've forgotten. Fear isn't the enemy of rest. Suppressing fear, denying fear, pretending fear doesn't exist when it clearly does, that's what destroys peaceful sleep. Every single night, your ancestors went to sleep knowing that real dangers surrounded them. Massive predators with claws that could tear through human flesh like paper. Weather changes that could freeze them to death before morning. Potential attacks from rival groups competing for the same scarce resources. These weren't imaginary threats or unlikely possibilities. These were genuine, constant dangers that could kill them and everyone they loved. Yet they slept deeply, peacefully, restoratively, night after night, year after year. How? They developed what anthropologists now call integrated fear wisdom, the most sophisticated approach to handling anxiety that humans have ever created. Instead of pretending dangers didn't exist, they acknowledged them completely. Instead of trying to eliminate all fear, they learned to work with fear as an ally. Instead of seeing anxiety as a problem to solve, they understood fear as information to process wisely. Picture their evening ritual now, and as you imagine this ancient practice, feel how your own relationship with fear begins to transform. They would sit in their protective circle around the fire and practice what we would call fear sorting. Not fear fighting or fear avoiding, but fear sorting, the conscious process of categorizing their concerns into three clear groups. First came tonight fears, the concerns that required immediate attention and action. The fire is burning low and needs more wood. The baby seems restless and might need comfort.
During the night, the wind is picking up and we should
Check the shelter walls. These were fears they could
and should do something about right now.
For tonight fears, they took whatever protective action was possible and practical. They added wood to the fire. They positioned themselves closer to family members who might need care. They checked and secured their simple possessions. They placed weapons and tools within easy reach, not from paranoia, but from the practical wisdom of being prepared. Then came tomorrow fears. Concerns about things they couldn't address tonight, but could plan to handle when they were able to take action. We need to find new hunting grounds soon. The water source is getting low and we'll need to search for another. Someone should check on the elderly member of the group who seemed unwell today. For tomorrow fears, they made simple, clear mental plans. No elaborate strategies or detailed worry sessions, just basic decisions about what they would do when they could actually do something. In the morning, we'll send scouts to look for new hunting areas. We'll organize a water searching party. We'll make sure someone checks on our elder and offers help if needed. And finally came maybe fears, possibilities they couldn't prevent or control, scenarios that might happen but probably wouldn't. worries about things beyond their influence. What if the winter is longer than usual this year? What if predators find our shelter? What if someone gets seriously injured and we can't help them? Here's where their wisdom becomes most beautiful and most practical. For maybe fears, they practiced conscious release, physically and emotionally, letting go of concerns they couldn't influence. They would literally offer these worries to the stars, to the great mystery that governed life and death, trusting that anxiety alone couldn't prevent anything bad from happening, but would definitely prevent the good healing that comes from peaceful rest. They understood something profound. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. Courage was feeling afraid and choosing to rest anyway, choosing to trust in their tribe, their skills, their resilience, and their ability to handle whatever challenges actually arose, not whatever challenges they could imagine. Your midnight anxieties follow exactly the same patterns as theirs, but you've probably never learned this ancient framework for processing them wisely. When you lie awake at 3 in the morning worrying about work deadlines, relationship problems, health concerns, financial pressures, or family issues, your brain is trying to sort through the same 3 categories. What needs attention now? What can I plan to address when I'm able? What am I imagining that I can't actually control? Right now, as your body continues to relax deeper and deeper, mentally sort your current worries using this ancestral wisdom. What can you actually influence tonight? Probably very little, and that's completely normal and okay. What can you plan to address tomorrow or when you're in a position to take helpful action? These might include making phone calls, having conversations, researching solutions, asking for help, or taking specific steps toward resolving concerns. And what are you worrying about that you can't actually control, that you're imagining might happen, but that anxiety itself can't prevent? These are the worries you can consciously offer to something larger than yourself, releasing them from the tight grip of your individual concern. Feel how just sorting your concerns into these categories begins to create space for rest. Feel how acknowledging what you can influence, planning for what you can address later, and releasing what you can't control allows your nervous system to finally, safely relax. Your ancestors knew that they couldn't eliminate danger from their lives, but they could eliminate the exhausting cycle of worrying about dangers they couldn't prevent. They couldn't guarantee that nothing bad would ever happen, but they could guarantee that they would face whatever did happen with as much strength, wisdom, and resilience as possible, and that meant getting the restorative sleep they needed. Picture yourself now placing each worry into one of 3 baskets. The first basket, labeled now, is probably nearly empty because most things that worry us at bedtime can't actually be addressed until tomorrow. The second basket, labeled tomorrow, contains the concerns you can plan to work on when you're in a position to take action. And the third basket, labeled maybe, is the one you're placing outside your cave, beyond tonight's concern, releasing to the great mystery that governs all outcomes. Your ancestors slept peacefully not because their world was safe, but because they had made peace with living in an uncertain world. They rested deeply not because they had no fears, but because they had learned to fear wisely, to worry productively, to trust in their ability to handle whatever tomorrow might bring. Tonight you can access this same ancient wisdom. You can acknowledge your fears without being controlled by them. You can care about potential problems without exhausting yourself with worry. You can rest peacefully knowing that tomorrow's challenges will be met with tomorrow's strength, just as it has always been for every generation of successful survivors who came before you. Feel your body relaxing even more deeply now as we uncover the ancient wisdom that allowed humans to find profound rest and restoration even when physical comfort was a luxury they simply couldn't afford. Let every muscle in your body soften as we discover how your ancestors transformed their relationship with discomfort, turning it from an enemy of sleep into an unexpected pathway to the deepest healing. Your Ice Age ancestors routinely slept on hard ground that would leave modern people tossing and turning all night. They rested in cramped spaces that barely provided room to stretch out fully. They closed their eyes with aching muscles from constant physical labor that would exhaust contemporary athletes. They sought sleep while cold, sometimes injured, frequently uncomfortable by any modern standard of what good rest requires. Yet, archaeological evidence reveals something remarkable. They achieved extraordinarily restorative sleep, not despite their discomfort, but through a completely different relationship with physical sensation that we've lost in our quest for perfect sleeping conditions. Their secret wasn't eliminating discomfort, because that was impossible in their world. Their secret wasn't having access to memory foam mattresses or temperature-controlled environments or ergonomic pillows. Their secret was transforming their relationship with the sensations their bodies were experiencing, turning physical awareness into a pathway toward deeper rest rather than an obstacle to overcome. They practiced what we would now call discomfort meditation, but it was far more practical than mystical. Instead of fighting against physical sensations, instead of tensing up around every ache or cold spot or hard surface, they would consciously breathe into these sensations, acknowledging each one as evidence of their body's incredible strength and endurance. Picture this ancient practice now, and as you do, let your own body settle into whatever position feels most natural, even if it's not perfectly comfortable. Imagine your ancestor lying on their simple bed of furs and skins, feeling the hardness of the ground beneath them, the slight chill in the air around them, the soreness in muscles that have worked hard all day to keep everyone alive and safe. But instead of fighting these sensations, instead of wishing desperately for something softer or warmer or more comfortable, they would breathe deeply and address each discomfort like an old friend. Thank you, Sawback, for carrying me safely through another day of gathering food and building shelter. Thank you for being strong enough to bend and lift and work without stopping. Thank you, Cold Feet, for walking me to water sources and hunting grounds and safe places to rest. Thank you for being tough enough to handle rough terrain and harsh weather without failing me. Thank you, tired muscles, for protecting my family, for doing the work that kept everyone fed and warm and secure. Thank you for your reliability, for your strength, for never giving up, even when the tasks seemed impossible. This wasn't just positive thinking or trying to make themselves feel better about uncomfortable conditions. This was practical psychology that worked with their body's natural healing responses instead of against them. When you fight discomfort, when you tense up around physical sensations you don't like, you actually create more tension, more pain, more disruption to your rest. But when you breathe into discomfort, when you acknowledge it with gratitude instead of resistance, when you recognize physical sensations as information rather than problems, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system shifts from protection mode to healing mode. Your body stops wasting energy fighting against its own experience and redirects that energy toward actual restoration. Your perfectionist approach to sleep comfort might actually be interfering with your rest in ways you've never considered. When you believe you need everything to be exactly right before you can sleep, when you require the perfect temperature, the perfect pillow, the perfect silence, the perfect darkness, you're creating conditions your ancestors never had, and your body doesn't actually require for deep healing. Your nervous system evolved to find rest within reasonable discomfort. Your body is designed to heal itself even when conditions aren't ideal. When you fight against minor physical sensations, when you let small discomforts become major sleep obstacles, you create mental and physical tension that's far more disruptive than the original sensation ever was. Notice right now any physical discomfort you might be experiencing. Maybe there's a slight ache somewhere, or a position that isn't perfectly comfortable, or a temperature that's not exactly what you'd prefer. Instead of trying to fix it immediately, instead of adjusting and moving and searching for the perfect position, try breathing into the sensation. Whisper, either out loud or in the quiet of your mind, "Thank you, body, for working so hard to keep me alive and safe and healthy. Thank you for carrying me through this day, for handling everything I've asked of you, for being strong enough and resilient enough to support my life in countless ways I probably don't even notice. Feel how this simple shift in attention, this movement from resistance to appreciation, creates more relief than any amount of physical adjustment could provide. Notice how acceptance allows your body to soften in ways that fighting never could. This isn't about tolerating suffering or accepting truly harmful conditions. This is about distinguishing between discomfort that requires action and discomfort that simply requires acceptance, between sensations that signal actual problems and sensations that are just part of having a human body that's been working hard and deserves recognition for its efforts. Your ancestors understood that the human body is incredibly adaptive, remarkably resilient, and capable of healing itself under conditions that seem far from ideal. They knew that comfort wasn't a prerequisite for restoration, that healing could happen anywhere, anytime, as long as the mind was at peace with whatever the body was experiencing. Imagine your physical form now as an ancient shelter that has weathered countless storms and still stands strong and reliable. Each ache, each tired muscle, each less than perfect sensation is like a stone in the foundation. Not perfectly smooth or comfortable, but part of what makes the structure solid and enduring and capable of protecting what matters most. Your body has carried you safely through every challenge you've ever faced. It has adapted to countless conditions, healed from injuries and illnesses, supported you through stress and celebration, and everything in between. It deserves your appreciation, not your criticism. It deserves your trust, not your constant attempts to make it different than it is. As you settle deeper into rest now, let your body be exactly as it is in this moment. Let any discomfort be present without resistance. Let any imperfection in your sleeping conditions be okay, because your ancestors found profound healing in conditions far more challenging than anything you're likely to face. Feel how this acceptance, this partnership with your body's experience rather than opposition to it, allows a different kind of relaxation to emerge. This is the relaxation that comes not from perfect conditions, but from perfect peace with whatever conditions exist. This is the rest that your ancestors knew, the healing that comes when you stop fighting your own experience and start appreciating the miracle of having a body that works tirelessly on your behalf, asking for nothing more than your gratitude and trust in return. Let yourself drift deeper into relaxation now, as we enter a time when humans lived in perfect harmony with the natural rhythms of existence, when sleep came easily because it was perfectly aligned with the deeper patterns of life itself. Feel your breathing naturally slow as we discover how your ancestors found profound peace by moving in harmony with time rather than fighting against it. Your Ice Age ancestors had no clocks ticking on their walls, no alarms set to jolt them from peaceful dreams, no arbitrary schedules imposed by artificial systems that ignored their body's natural wisdom. Their time was dictated entirely by the organic rhythms that have governed life on Earth for millions of years. The rise and setting of the sun, the changing of seasons, the natural ebb and flow of energy that moves through all living things. This wasn't primitive or unsophisticated. This was profoundly intelligent, beautifully aligned with the way human bodies actually function when they're not forced into patterns that contradict their deepest programming. They understood something that modern chronobiology is only beginning to rediscover, that the human body operates on multiple overlapping rhythms, like a complex symphony where every instrument has its own part to play. Daily energy cycles that peak in the morning and naturally decline toward evening. Weekly restoration patterns that require different kinds of rest on different days. Seasonal mood changes that aren't disorders but natural adaptations to the changing world around us. Most beautifully, they understood longer rhythms tied to different phases of life, recognizing that children, adults, and elders all had different sleep needs, different energy patterns, different relationships with rest and activity. Instead of forcing everyone into the same schedule, they built their entire culture around honoring these individual and collective rhythms. During the long winter nights when darkness stretched for 16 hours or more, they didn't fight against the seasonal call to rest more deeply. They didn't see winter drowsiness as laziness or depression. They embraced these extended periods of rest as gifts, understanding that seasonal turning inward wasn't a problem to solve, but a natural invitation to focus on inner development, spiritual growth, and the deep restoration that prepares the soul for spring's renewal. During summer's brief nights, when light lasted nearly 20 hours, they naturally slept less, staying active during the precious warm periods when hunting and gathering were most productive. They didn't worry about getting their standard 8 hours when their bodies were telling them to make the most of the abundant daylight. Most profoundly, they had no concept of wasted time. This might be the most radical difference between their world and ours. Rest wasn't time lost or productivity sacrificed. Dreaming wasn't unconsciousness to minimize, but valuable work that deserved respect and protection. Sitting quietly and processing experiences wasn't laziness, but essential labor that maintained their emotional and spiritual health. They never felt guilty about taking the time they needed because they understood that restoration was just as important as action, that healing was just as valuable as achieving, that being present with life was just as necessary as trying to change or improve their circumstances. Your sleep struggles might have less to do with sleep disorders and more to do with rhythm disorders, with trying to force your natural patterns into artificial schedules that contradict millions of years of evolutionary programming. When you attempt to sleep at times that don't align with your body's organic cycles, when you feel guilty for needing rest, when you treat sleep as time lost rather than time invested in your well-being, you're fighting against the ancient wisdom that lives in every cell. Your body is still operating on Ice Age timing, still responding to seasonal changes in light and temperature, still wanting to eat in harmony with activity levels rather than arbitrary meal schedules, still craving natural darkness for deep sleep and natural light for healthy waking. Think about your natural energy patterns now, and instead of judging them or trying to force them into someone else's schedule, appreciate them as expressions of your ancient wisdom trying to guide you toward optimal health. When do you naturally feel most alert and energetic? When does your body want to wind down and prepare for rest? What time of year do you feel most active? What seasons call you toward deeper rest and inner reflection? These patterns aren't random or inconvenient. They're your body's way of trying to optimize your health, energy, and emotional well-being according to rhythms that have supported human
Thriving for hundreds of thousands of years, your
ancestors never experienced the chronic exhaustion that plagues so many modern people because they moved in partnership with time rather than in opposition to it. They worked when their energy was naturally high and rested when their bodies called for restoration. They celebrated the productive seasons and honored the restorative seasons equally. As you honor your natural rhythms instead of fighting them, sleep transforms from a battle you have to win into a river you can join, a natural flow that carries you gently from waking consciousness into healing rest and back to refreshed alertness without struggle or resistance. Picture yourself now flowing with the great rhythm that has been pulsing since the beginning of time, the same pattern that moves the tides, that guides the migration of animals, that tells plants when to grow and when to rest. You are part of this ancient dance, this beautiful cooperation between individual needs and universal patterns. Imagine yourself as a leaf floating peacefully on a stream, not fighting the current or trying to swim upstream, but trusting the flow that has been moving since long before you were born and will continue long after your individual life has ended. This stream carries you safely through periods of activity and periods of rest, through seasons of growth and seasons of quiet, through all the natural cycles that make life rich and meaningful and ultimately satisfying. Feel how this trust in natural timing creates immediate peace in your body, how releasing the need to control Every moment allows your nervous system to finally relax into the deeper patterns that support optimal health and happiness. Your ancestors lived in what we might call chronological peace, perfect harmony with the timing of their own lives and the larger rhythms of existence. They didn't experience time as an enemy racing away from them, or a resource they were always running out of. They experienced time as a friend, a guide, a wise teacher that showed them when to act and when to rest, when to push forward and when to surrender to the natural flow of life. Tonight, you can access this same chronological peace, not by changing your external schedule necessarily, but by making peace with your natural rhythms, by appreciating rather than fighting your body's wisdom about when it needs rest and when it's ready for activity. As you settle deeper into sleep now, you're not just resting from today's activities, you're joining the great rhythm that has been carrying life forward since the beginning, the ancient pulse that connects you to every human who ever found peace in surrendering to the natural timing of rest and renewal. Feel your mind beginning to quiet now as we discover the one practice that consistently transformed racing thoughts into peaceful contemplation for your ancient ancestors. Let your breathing deepen as we explore the most sophisticated gratitude technique ever developed, a practice so powerful that it systematically shifted the human brain from survival mode to restoration mode, night after night. For thousands of generations, every Ice Age evening, without exception, included what anthropologists now recognize as the most effective mental settling practice in human history. But this wasn't the simple count your blessings gratitude that modern people sometimes try. This was a complex, carefully designed psychological technique that addressed the three main sources of bedtime mental chatter: physical anxiety, emotional restlessness, and spiritual disconnection. Your ancestors understood something profound about how the human mind works at the end of the day. They knew that racing thoughts weren't random mental noise, but specific categories of unfinished processing that the brain needed to complete before it could safely enter restorative sleep. So they developed a three-layer gratitude practice that systematically addressed each category, creating the mental conditions necessary for profound rest. The first layer was sensory gratitude, appreciation focused specifically on physical sensations of safety and comfort. This wasn't abstract thankfulness, but concrete acknowledgement of what their body was actually experiencing in the present moment. Feel how different this is from most modern gratitude practices as you imagine their evening ritual. I'm grateful for the warmth of this fire on my skin. Not just grateful for warmth in general, but for the specific sensation of heat touching their face, their hands, their tired feet. I'm grateful for the softness of these furs beneath my body. Not just thankful for shelter, but for the actual physical comfort of materials that cushioned their weary bones. I'm grateful for the sound of my child's steady breathing next to me. Not just appreciative of family, but specifically focused on the auditory evidence that everyone was safe, alive, peaceful in this moment. I'm grateful for the taste of clean water still on my tongue from our evening drink. Not just thankful for hydration, but for the specific sensory memory of liquid that sustained life flowing into their grateful body. This first layer of gratitude worked because it engaged the parasympathetic nervous system directly through sensory appreciation. When you focus gratitude on what your senses are actually experiencing right now, your brain receives the message that you're safe enough to notice and appreciate small comforts, which automatically begins to shift your nervous system out of vigilance mode and into restoration mode. The second layer was effort gratitude, specific acknowledgement of contributions made by themselves and others throughout the day. This satisfied the human need for meaning and accomplishment while honoring the interconnection that kept everyone alive and thriving. I'm grateful for my hands that gathered food today, that worked patiently to provide for my family. Not just thankful for having hands, but specifically appreciating the effort those hands made the intention behind their movement, the love expressed through physical labor. I'm grateful for my partner's skill in preparing our shelter, for the care they took in making our space safe and warm. Not just appreciative of having a partner, but recognizing specific actions, specific gifts, specific ways that love was expressed through practical service. I'm grateful for my own courage in facing today's challenges, for not giving up when things felt difficult. Not just thankful for surviving the day, but acknowledging their own resilience, their own choice to keep moving forward even when the path was uncertain or frightening. This second layer worked because it satisfied the deep human need to feel that their efforts mattered, that their life had meaning beyond just personal survival. It created a sense of completion around the day's activities while honoring the web of mutual care that made life possible. The third layer was mystery gratitude, appreciation for things beyond their understanding or control, connection with forces larger than their individual concerns and fears. This addressed the spiritual restlessness that can keep the mind active long after the body is ready for rest. I'm grateful for the stars that guide us even when clouds hide them, for the wisdom that lights our path even in darkness. I'm grateful for dreams that teach us things our waking minds couldn't discover, for the healing that happens while we sleep. I'm grateful for the force that makes plants grow and rivers flow and hearts beat without our effort or understanding. This third layer created what we might call spiritual settling, the deep peace that comes from feeling connected to something larger and more enduring than individual worries and concerns. When your mind races at bedtime, it's usually cycling through these same three categories of mental chatter: sensory anxiety about physical comfort, environmental safety, or bodily sensations; effort anxiety about things you should have done differently or need to accomplish tomorrow; mystery anxiety about things beyond your control that you're trying to figure out or manage through worry alone. This three-layer gratitude practice works because it systematically addresses each category, transforming anxiety into appreciation, restlessness into peaceful reflection, worry into wonder. Try this ancient practice now. Find one thing to appreciate in each category, letting your awareness move naturally from physical sensation to human effort to mysterious blessing. What physical sensation can you be grateful for right now? Maybe the temperature of the air on your skin, or the softness of whatever you're resting on, or the rhythm of your own breathing that continues without your conscious effort. Let yourself really feel this sensation as you appreciate it, not just thinking about it, but actually experiencing gratitude for what your body is receiving in this moment. What effort can you acknowledge and appreciate? Maybe your own persistence in getting through a challenging day, or someone else's kindness that made your life easier, or the countless people who work to make your current comfort possible. Feel the satisfaction that comes from recognizing meaningful action, from honoring the web of care and contribution that supports every life. What mystery can you appreciate without needing to understand it? Maybe the fact that your heart keeps beating and your lungs keep breathing while you sleep, or the way healing happens in your body without your conscious direction, or the simple miracle that you exist at all in this vast, beautiful, mysterious universe. Notice how this gentle movement from anxiety to appreciation creates immediate spaciousness in your mind, like opening windows in a stuffy room to let in fresh air and natural light. Picture your gratitude now as that same gentle light spreading through your entire body, warming each cell, creating a glow of contentment that needs nothing more than what is already present in this moment. Your ancestors knew that gratitude wasn't just a nice idea or positive thinking technique. It was practical medicine that prepared the mind for healing sleep, that transformed the mental conditions that interfere with rest into the psychological environment that supports the deepest restoration possible. Allow yourself to feel deeply held and supported now as we discover how human touch and connection were the most powerful sleep medicine your ancestors possessed. Let every part of your body relax as we explore how they use the ancient wisdom of co-regulation to create sleep so profound and restorative that they could function optimally on what modern people would consider very little rest, your ice age.
Ancestors never slept alone unless absolutely necessary.
And when they did sleep alone, it was considered a form of hardship, something to endure rather than prefer. This wasn't just about warmth or physical protection, though those elements were certainly important. This was about activating the deepest levels of healing sleep through what scientists now call co-regulation, the natural process by which mammalian nervous systems synchronize and support each other's optimal functioning. When humans sleep in physical contact or close proximity to trusted companions, remarkable things happen at the cellular level. Heart rates begin to synchronize, breathing patterns naturally align, and stress hormones decrease while healing hormones increase. The nervous system of each person actually helps regulate the nervous system of others, creating conditions for more restorative sleep than any individual could achieve alone. Your ancestors understood this instinctively, building their entire sleep culture around maximizing these co-regulation benefits. They positioned themselves strategically so that the calmest, most peaceful sleepers were near anyone who might be struggling with anxiety or restlessness. They knew that steady, relaxed breathing from a trusted person nearby would automatically help regulate someone whose nervous system was more activated or concerned. Picture their sleeping arrangements now, and as you do, let yourself imagine being surrounded by this same quality of supportive presence. Parents would position themselves so their deep, peaceful breathing would automatically guide anxious children into calmer states. Elders would offer their presence to younger adults who were processing difficult experiences or facing challenging decisions.
Even the strongest, most independent members of the tribe
Understood that their nervous systems functioned better when supported by the gentle presence of people who cared about their well-being. They also practiced what we would now call intentional touch healing before sleep. But this wasn't massage therapy or formal treatment. This was simple, loving care shared between family members who understood that gentle touch was medicine, not luxury. They would take turns slowly, mindfully massaging each other's hands, feet, or shoulders, not for pleasure or relaxation in the modern sense, but as practical healthcare that prepared each body for optimal restoration. They knew things that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. That loving touch releases oxytocin, the hormone that promotes bonding and reduces stress. That gentle pressure activates the vagus nerve, which signals the nervous system to shift from protection mode into healing mode. That human contact literally changes brain chemistry in ways that create ideal conditions for cellular repair during sleep. Most beautifully, they had rituals for what we might call sleep blessings, the practice of quietly expressing care and positive intention for each person before rest. These weren't just nice words or empty social customs. They were understood as actual medicine that helped the subconscious mind relax into the vulnerability that deep healing requires. May your dreams bring you wisdom about the challenge you're
facing. May your body restore completely from today's hard
work. May you wake with renewed
energy and clear direction. These specific,
caring intentions weren't superstition, but sophisticated psychology, helping each person's unconscious mind receive permission to let go of the day's concerns and focus entirely on restoration and renewal. Your nervous system is still wired for this same connected sleep, still expecting the co-regulation support that helped humans achieve optimal rest for hundreds of thousands of years. When you sleep alone night after night, especially during times of stress or challenge, your primitive brain can interpret isolation as potential danger, maintaining subtle levels of vigilance that interfere with the deepest levels of restorative sleep. This doesn't mean you need to share a bed with another person, though if that's available and comfortable for you, it can certainly provide co-regulation benefits. But it does mean that finding ways to feel connected and supported before Sleep can dramatically improve your rest, quality and healing capacity. This connection might come through the companionship of a beloved pet whose steady breathing
And warm presence provides some of the same.
nervous system regulation that human contact offers. It might come through video calls with people you love, allowing their calm, caring presence to help settle your own nervous system before rest. It might come through self-massage, using your own hands to provide the gentle touch that signals safety and care to your body. Or it might come through what we could call visualization co-regulation, imagining yourself held and supported by people who love you, allowing your nervous system to respond to that imagined connection as if it were physically present. Place your hands now somewhere on your body where the touch feels genuinely comforting.
Maybe on your heart, feeling its steady rhythm.
Maybe on your belly, connecting with your deep breathing. Maybe cupping your own face with the same gentleness you would offer someone you love who needed comfort. As you offer yourself this simple touch, breathe in self-compassion, imagining this care as connected to everyone who has ever wanted your well-being. Picture invisible threads of love extending from this moment back through time to every ancestor who ever worried about your safety, forward through time to every person who will benefit from your healing, and outward through space to everyone who cares about your peace and happiness right now. Feel how even this simple self-connection begins to activate your body's innate healing responses, the same co-regulation benefits that helped your ancestors achieve remarkably restorative sleep even in challenging conditions. Your nervous system doesn't always distinguish between imagined connection and physical connection, especially when the imagination is focused on genuine care and loving intention. As you continue to rest your hands wherever feels most comforting, allow yourself to imagine being gently held in what we might call a web of care.
Invisible but real connections that stretch across time and space.
You are supported by everyone who ever wished for your peace, everyone who ever stayed awake to keep you safe, everyone who ever hoped for your healing and happiness. This isn't fantasy or wishful thinking. This is recognition of the actual web of love and care that has sustained human life through countless generations, the mutual support system that allowed our species to survive and thrive through challenges that would have overwhelmed any individual trying to face them alone. Tonight, as you rest, you're not just recovering your individual energy, you're participating in the great human tradition of mutual care, allowing yourself to receive the support that countless generations of ancestors wanted to give you, preparing yourself to offer that same supportive presence to others whose lives you touch. Feel yourself now being gently held in this ancient web of connection, supported by everyone who came before you and everyone who will come after you, all of you connected by the simple desire for each other's peace, healing, and well-being. Rest in this knowledge that you are never, truly never, alone. Feel your mind settling into the deep wisdom space now where your ancestors learned to use sleep not just for rest and restoration, but for preparation, insight, and guidance for the coming day. Let your consciousness drift into that peaceful realm where the boundary between sleeping and waking becomes permeable, where the most profound learning and preparation can occur. Your Ice Age ancestors understood something that modern sleep science is only beginning to rediscover. The final few minutes before sleep, when consciousness is naturally shifting from active thinking to receptive dreaming, are when the subconscious mind is most open to direction and programming. They didn't waste these precious moments on random thoughts or anxious worry. They used this time strategically, consciously, to prepare their sleeping minds to work on their behalf throughout the night. Their dream seeding practice was sophisticated and specific, involving 3 distinct steps that addressed different aspects of preparation and problem solving. First, they would mentally review the next day's essential tasks, but not with anxiety or pressure. Instead, They would visualize themselves completing each responsibility with calm skill and natural ease, programming their subconscious to approach tomorrow's activities with confidence and competence. Picture this ancient practice as your own mind begins to drift toward sleep. Imagine your ancestor lying peacefully in their warm furs, taking a few quiet moments to mentally walk through tomorrow's necessary activities, gathering food, tending the fire, caring for family members, working on tools or shelter improvements. But they wouldn't see themselves struggling with these tasks or worried about outcomes. They would envision themselves moving through each activity with the fluid grace that comes from deep preparation, with the quiet confidence of someone whose sleeping mind has already solved any challenges that might arise. The second step was even more remarkable. They would identify one specific challenge they were facing, one problem or decision that required creative thinking or wise guidance, and they would formally ask their dreaming mind to work on it overnight, not with desperate pleading or anxious demand, but with the respectful request of someone asking a trusted advisor for counsel and guidance. Tonight,
Help me understand why the hunting patterns have
changed and where we might find better success. Show
me how to help my child who has been struggling with fears about the dark. Guide
me toward the right decision about whether our family should join the group traveling south. They would pose these questions clearly, specifically, then consciously release them to the mysterious intelligence that operates beyond ordinary thinking. Archaeological evidence suggests this wasn't wishful thinking, but practical neuroscience, though they wouldn't have used those words. The brain does indeed consolidate memories, process complex information, and work on problem-solving during sleep, and the final conscious thoughts before rest significantly influence this overnight processing. By consciously directing their pre-sleep mental activity, they were literally programming their subconscious to focus on their most important challenges and opportunities. The third step was setting a specific intention for how they wanted to feel upon waking, not just hoping they would feel rested, but actively programming their consciousness to emerge from sleep in whatever emotional state would best serve the coming day. May I wake with the energy needed for tomorrow's long journey. Let me rise with the patience required to teach the children new skills. Help me wake with courage for the difficult conversation I need to have. They also practiced what they called ancestral consultation, mentally connecting with the accumulated wisdom of everyone who came before them, particularly when facing decisions or challenges that felt beyond their individual knowledge or experience. This wasn't superstition, but sophisticated psychology, a way of accessing the vast store of human wisdom accumulated over countless generations and held in what we might now call cultural memory or collective.
unconscious. Your brain is still capable of this same
Overnight preparation and problem solving. Modern research confirms that sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation, creative insight, and emotional processing. When you fall asleep with clear, positive intentions, your subconscious mind works actively on your behalf throughout the night, processing challenges, generating solutions, and preparing you for more effective action. But the opposite is also true. When you fall asleep worried or agitated, when your last conscious thoughts are anxious loops about everything that might go wrong, your subconscious spends the night processing anxiety instead of solutions, preparation instead of worry, fear instead of confidence. Think now of one thing you'd like to accomplish or handle well tomorrow. Don't choose something overwhelming or impossible, just one specific task or interaction or experience you'd like to approach with greater skill or ease. Instead of worrying about all the ways it might go wrong, gently visualize yourself handling it with calm competence, with the natural grace that comes from good preparation. See yourself moving through this activity or interaction with confidence, responding to any challenges that arise with wisdom and creativity, feeling satisfied with your contribution or performance. Don't force this visualization or make it elaborate. Just offer your sleeping mind a clear, positive template for tomorrow's success. Now think of one challenge you're currently facing, one area where you genuinely need insight or creative solutions. It might be a work problem, a relationship concern, a health challenge, or a decision about your future. Instead of trying to figure it out through anxious thinking, gently pose this challenge as a question to your sleeping mind. Ask with the same respect you would show a wise counselor.
Help me understand what I'm not seeing about this
Situation. Show me creative approaches I haven't considered. Guide me toward the choice that will serve.
Everyone's highest good. Then consciously
Release this question, trusting that your dreaming mind will work on it with resources and perspectives that your conscious thinking cannot access. Finally, set an intention for how you'd like to feel when you wake up. What emotional state would best serve your tomorrow?
energy and enthusiasm,
Calm and patience? Clarity and focus? Courage and confidence? Choose the feeling that would most support your well-being and effectiveness. Then gently request that your sleeping consciousness prepare this gift for your waking self. As you plant these seeds in the fertile ground of your resting mind, trust that your sleeping brain will tend them with the same ancient wisdom that has guided human problem-solving and preparation for millennia. Your subconscious mind is incredibly sophisticated, far more creative and resourceful than your ordinary thinking, and it works most effectively when given clear, positive direction combined with the freedom to find solutions in its own mysterious way. Picture your intentions now as seeds you're planting in rich, dark earth, the same earth that has nurtured countless generations of human growth and wisdom. See your dreaming mind as gentle rain that will nurture these seeds throughout the night, allowing solutions and insights to sprout and grow in the darkness, ready to emerge into consciousness when you need them most. Your ancestors knew that sleep wasn't an escape from life, but an active participant in creating the life they wanted to live. They understood that the boundary between sleeping and waking consciousness was permeable, that wisdom and guidance could flow in both directions, that each night offered the opportunity not just for rest, but for renewal, preparation, and connection with sources of knowledge beyond individual thinking. Tonight, you join this ancient tradition of conscious sleep preparation, using the final moments before rest to seed your dreams with positive intention, to invite your sleeping mind to work on your behalf, to prepare for tomorrow not through worry but through wise, loving anticipation of your own capacity to handle whatever the new day might bring. Feel yourself floating now in that peaceful space between sleep and waking, in the gentle realm where your ancestors learned to greet each new day not as a burden to bear or a challenge to endure, but as an adventure to embrace with curiosity and quiet confidence. Your Ice Age ancestors had no alarm clocks shrieking them from peaceful dreams into immediate stress and panic. They had no jarring wake-up calls that shocked their nervous systems from the vulnerable state of rest into the demanding alertness of a world that never stops moving. Instead, they practiced what researchers now call natural emergence, the gentle, gradual, harmonious return of consciousness that honors the transition from sleep to waking as sacred time deserving of respect and care. Their awakening ritual began before they even opened their eyes, while their bodies were still warm and heavy with sleep, while their minds were still soft and receptive from the night's healing work. They would spend several precious minutes in what we might call morning gratitude meditation. But it was far more profound than simply counting blessings or trying to think positive thoughts. Picture this ancient practice as your own consciousness begins to hover in that beautiful space between dreams and daylight. Imagine your ancestor lying peacefully in their warm furs, feeling the gentle stirring of awareness that signals the return of waking consciousness, but not rushing this transition, not forcing their eyes open or their body to move before it was naturally ready. Instead, they would begin with appreciation for the simple, miraculous fact that they had survived another night in a world where survival was never guaranteed. in their dangerous environment, making it safely through the darkness to see another dawn genuinely was cause for celebration, a victory worth acknowledging with genuine gratitude. I am alive. My heart kept beating through the night without my effort or worry. My lungs kept breathing, drawing in life-giving air while I rested. My body has spent these dark hours restoring itself, healing from yesterday's challenges, preparing me for whatever today might bring. This wasn't naive optimism or forced positivity. In their harsh world where predators prowled and weather could kill and accidents happened suddenly, waking up healthy and whole was genuinely miraculous, deserving of recognition and appreciation. Next came what they called body appreciation, a gentle, loving scan from head to toe, acknowledging each part of their physical form that would serve them throughout the coming day. But this wasn't clinical assessment or critical evaluation. This was grateful recognition of their body as a trusted partner, a faithful companion that had carried them safely through another night's vulnerability. Thank you.
Legs for being strong enough to carry me wherever I need to go today.
Thank you for walking me to safety yesterday, for supporting me when I was tired, for never failing me when I needed to move quickly or travel far. Thank you.
Hands for all the work you'll do today, gathering food,
creating tools, caring for my family, building and mending and shaping the world around me. Thank you for your skill, your strength, your ability to express my love through action. Thank you. Heart, for beating steadily through rest and activity, for moving life through my body without pause, for keeping me connected to the great rhythm of existence itself. This gentle body awareness served a crucial purpose. It helped them transition from the vulnerability of sleep, where they were dependent on external protection, to the alertness of day, where they would need to rely on their own capabilities and strength. Instead of jarring themselves from rest to activity, they created a bridge of appreciation that honored both states. Finally came day visioning, but not the anxious planning that characterizes so many modern mornings. This was excited anticipation, the mental practice of seeing themselves moving through the day with grace, skill, and joy. They would picture themselves handling both expected activities and unexpected challenges with wisdom and courage, programming their consciousness for success and satisfaction. They might envision themselves finding food efficiently, working harmoniously with family members, solving problems creatively, responding to difficulties with calm resourcefulness. They weren't trying to control outcomes or guarantee perfect days. They were preparing their minds to approach whatever arose with the best possible attitude and energy. Your morning mood and energy levels are largely determined by how you transition from sleep to waking consciousness. When you jolt awake to jarring alarms and immediately flood your mind with the day's stresses and responsibilities, you're programming your nervous system for anxiety and overwhelm before you even get out of bed. Your ancestors' gentle awakening process activated the parasympathetic nervous system, released beneficial hormones like oxytocin and endorphins, and primed their brains for positive experiences and effective problem solving. Modern research confirms that the first few minutes after waking significantly influence mood, cognitive function, and stress resilience for the entire day. Even if you're not waking up right now, you can practice this gentle emergence as preparation for whenever you do return to waking consciousness. Let your awareness move slowly, kindly through your body, acknowledging with appreciation each part that will serve you in the hours ahead. Feel the miracle of your breath moving in and out without your conscious effort. Notice the steady, faithful rhythm of your heartbeat. Appreciate the complex systems working harmoniously throughout your body: circulation, digestion, immune function, cellular repair, all operating on your behalf without your management or control. Set a gentle intention for how you'd like to approach tomorrow when it arrives, not demanding perfection or guaranteed outcomes, but preparing your consciousness to meet whatever comes with grace, curiosity, and confidence in your ability to handle life's challenges and opportunities. This caring attention to how you return to consciousness is just as important as how you enter sleep. Both transitions deserve the same gentle respect, the same honoring of the natural rhythms that govern the movement between rest and activity. Imagine yourself now as a flower opening slowly to the morning sun, each petal unfurling naturally and beautifully, without force or haste. There's no rush, no pressure, no demand for immediate performance. There's only the natural, graceful emergence from rest to readiness, guided by the ancient wisdom that knows exactly how to transition between different states of consciousness. Your ancestors understood that how you wake up sets the tone for everything that follows. They created morning rituals that honored this transition as sacred time, ensuring that they began each day feeling grateful, confident, and connected to their own strength and the support of their loving community. Tonight, as you rest, you're not just recovering from today's activities. You're preparing for tomorrow's gentle awakening, programming your consciousness to emerge from sleep feeling appreciated, supported, and ready to contribute your unique gifts to the ongoing story of human flourishing and care. Allow yourself to feel deeply held and supported now as we discover how your ancestors created bonds so strong, so nurturing, so essential to daily life that loneliness was one of modern humanity's greatest sleep. Disruptors was virtually unknown in their world. Anthropologists studying Ice Age social structures have uncovered something that challenges everything we think we know about human isolation and connection. Evidence of chronic loneliness, the soul-crushing sense of being fundamentally alone and disconnected that plagues so many modern lives, is virtually non-existent in archaeological records from this period. This wasn't because life was easier for your ancestors, because it absolutely, definitely wasn't. This wasn't because they were naturally more social than modern people, because human nature hasn't fundamentally changed in 40,000 years. This remarkable absence of loneliness existed because they had sophisticated, intentional systems for ensuring that every single person felt fundamentally valued, deeply seen, and absolutely essential to the group's well-being and survival. Their secret was what we might call essential belonging, the practice of structuring community life so that every individual's unique gifts weren't just appreciated as nice bonuses, but recognized as absolutely necessary for everyone's survival and thriving. There was no such thing as feeling useless or redundant in their world, because everyone's contribution was literally a matter of life and death for the people they loved. Picture this ancient community now, and feel how different it is from modern life, where so many people struggle with questions of worth and purpose. The storyteller wasn't just entertainment. They were the keeper of essential survival knowledge, the holder of the tribe's identity and wisdom. The toolmaker wasn't just a craftsperson. Their skills meant the difference between effective hunting and starvation, between adequate shelter and death from exposure. The plant finder, the weather reader, the child tender, the elder wisdom keeper, the fire guardian, the scout, the healer. Each role was irreplaceable, each person absolutely essential. When someone was absent or unable to contribute their gifts, everyone felt the loss immediately and personally. This wasn't abstract appreciation, but practical, daily dependence on each person's unique abilities and knowledge. But even more powerful than individual contribution was their practice of daily witnessing, the intentional, consistent attention they gave to each person's inner experience and external efforts. This wasn't invasive questioning or forced emotional sharing. This was gentle, persistent acknowledgement that said, clearly and repeatedly, "I see you. I notice your efforts. Your presence makes a difference in my life and in our community." This witnessing happened constantly throughout each day. I noticed how patiently you worked with the children. Today, I saw how you checked on the elderly member of our family when you thought no one was looking. I Appreciate the way you kept trying with that difficult task, even when it wasn't working at first. They understood something that modern psychology is rediscovering, that being truly seen and acknowledged for who you are and what you contribute is one of the most essential human needs, as important as food and shelter and safety for psychological well-being and resilience. Most beautifully, they had specific rituals for what we might call belonging restoration, practices they would implement whenever they noticed that someone was feeling disconnected,
isolated, or uncertain about their place in the community.
They wouldn't ignore these signs or hope the person would figure it out on their own. The entire group would create special opportunities for that person to contribute their unique gifts, to share their story, to be celebrated and appreciated until their sense of essential place was fully restored. Your sleep struggles might be more connected to social isolation than you realize. Human beings are fundamentally pack animals who evolved to feel safe and secure in groups, surrounded by people who care about their well-being. When you go to bed feeling disconnected, unseen, or unnecessary, your primitive brain interprets this isolation as potential danger, maintaining subtle levels of alertness and stress hormones that interfere with the deep rest your body needs for restoration. The solution isn't necessarily more social activities or forced interaction, though connection with others certainly helps. The deeper medicine is developing a sense of meaningful contribution and essential belonging, knowing that your existence makes a genuine difference in the world, that your unique gifts and perspective matter to someone, that you're part of something larger and more important than your individual concerns. This sense of belonging might come through work that feels genuinely purposeful, through relationships where you feel truly seen and appreciated, through creative expression that touches other people's lives, through service that makes a measurable difference in your community, or through simply recognizing the countless ways your daily presence affects everyone around you. Think now of one way you contribute to other people's lives, one way your existence makes things better for someone else. It might be through your work, your relationships, your creativity, your caring attention, your sense of humor, your reliability, your kindness to strangers, your dedication to causes that matter. Place your hand on your heart and acknowledge this truth. I matter. My presence makes a difference. I belong to the great human family that has been caring for each other for thousands of generations. This belonging isn't something you have to earn through perfect performance or impressive achievements. It's your birthright as a human being, as present and real in you, now as it was in your ancestors who never questioned their essential place in their small,
loving community. Imagine now invisible threads of connection extending from your heart to everyone you've ever helped.
Everyone who has ever cared about you. Everyone who benefits from your existence in ways you may never fully know. Picture this vast web of mutual care and influence that connects every human life to every other. The ancient network of belonging that has sustained our species through every challenge and celebration. Feel how recognizing these connections creates immediate warmth in your chest. How acknowledging your place in the great human story generates the same sense of safety and security that allowed your ancestors to rest peacefully even in dangerous times. Tonight, as you sleep, you're not resting as an isolated individual trying to recover your personal energy. You're participating in the great human tradition of mutual restoration, taking care of yourself so you can continue contributing to the well-being of everyone whose life touches yours, preparing yourself to offer the gifts that only you can give to the ongoing project of making life more beautiful, meaningful, and loving for everyone. Feel yourself relaxing into the profound peace that comes from understanding life's natural cycles the way your ancestors did, with acceptance rather than resistance, with wisdom rather than fear, with trust in the greater patterns that govern all existence. Your Ice Age ancestors lived intimately with death in ways that would be unimaginable to most modern people. They witnessed family members die from injuries that today would be easily treatable. from illnesses that seemed to come from nowhere, from harsh weather that turned deadly in minutes, from encounters with predators whose power dwarfed human strength. Death was not an abstract possibility, but a daily reality, a constant companion that shaped every decision and informed every moment of appreciation for life. Yet archaeological evidence reveals something remarkable. They had far less death anxiety than modern populations who rarely encounter mortality directly. Their bones don't show the physical stress markers associated with chronic anxiety about dying. Their art celebrates life without the desperate clinging that often characterizes people who try to deny death's reality. Their burial practices suggest a profound acceptance of life's temporary nature, a deep peace with the cycles that govern all living things. Their secret was understanding impermanence not as tragedy or cosmic cruelty, but as the natural rhythm that makes each moment precious, each relationship meaningful, each act of love significant. They developed what we might call cyclical thinking, seeing death not as an ending that negates everything that came before, but as part of the same eternal pattern that includes birth, growth, flowering, rest, and renewal. Picture how this understanding shaped their daily experience. They didn't take survival for granted or assume that tomorrow was guaranteed. This awareness didn't make them morbid or depressed. Instead, it made them extraordinarily present, deeply grateful, intensely aware of the preciousness of each day they were given together. They practiced what we might call legacy consciousness,
regularly considering how their actions, love,
and wisdom would continue to influence the world even after their individual lives ended. This wasn't morbid preoccupation with death, but practical wisdom that helped them prioritize what truly mattered, focusing their limited time and energy on what would have lasting meaning and positive impact. When they made decisions, they would often consider, how will this choice affect the children? What kind of world are we creating for those who come after us?
What wisdom do we want to pass down?
What kind of story do we want our lives to tell? Most importantly, they had rituals for what we could call life completion, practices that helped them regularly acknowledge and appreciate the experiences they'd already had, the love they'd given and received, the contributions they'd made to their family and community. This meant that each day felt complete in itself, reducing the anxiety that comes from feeling like you're running out of time to live fully or love completely. Each evening, as part of their gratitude practice, they would mentally review not just the day's experiences, but the larger story of their life, acknowledging moments of joy they'd experienced, challenges they'd overcome, people they'd loved, beauty they'd witnessed, growth they'd achieved. This regular practice of life review meant they weren't constantly worried about unfinished business or unlived potential. Much of modern sleep anxiety stems from death anxiety in disguise, though we rarely recognize it as such. When you lie awake worrying about wasting time, missing opportunities, not achieving enough, disappointing people who matter to you, or losing people you love, you're often processing the reality that life is temporary and unpredictable. That time is limited and outcomes are uncertain. Your ancestors' approach wasn't to deny this reality through positive thinking or distraction, but to find profound peace within it. They understood that the temporary nature of life is precisely what makes each moment precious, each relationship sacred, each act of kindness significant. If life were permanent and guaranteed,
love wouldn't be so beautiful, time wouldn't be so valuable.
Choice wouldn't matter so much. Consider now something you're afraid of losing or not achieving, something that keeps your mind active when you'd rather be resting. Hold this concern gently in your awareness, not trying to solve it or make it disappear, but approaching it with the wisdom your ancestors developed through their intimate relationship with life's temporary nature. Imagine your ancestors' weathered hand on your shoulder and their gentle voice saying, "Child, the beauty isn't in permanence but in presence. The meaning isn't in guarantees but in gratitude. Love fully while you can, contribute what you're able to give, appreciate what you're privileged to experience." The rest will take care of itself, just as it always has. This acceptance of life's natural rhythms creates profound peace. Not the peace of getting everything you want, but the deeper peace of wanting what life offers, of finding meaning in the experience itself rather than demanding specific outcomes or eternal guarantees. Feel how this understanding settles something deep in your chest. How making peace with life's temporary nature paradoxically creates more capacity for joy, more appreciation for what's present, more courage to love fully, even knowing that loss is inevitable. Picture yourself now as part of an endless cycle, like a leaf on a tree that has grown through countless seasons, contributing your unique part to something much larger and more enduring than any individual moment or lifetime. Your ancestors understood that while individual lives end, the great story of human love, wisdom, and care continues, and each person's contribution matters to that ongoing story. Tonight, as you rest, you're not just recovering from today's activities. You're participating in the ancient human practice of making peace with mortality, of finding profound meaning within life's temporary nature, of trusting that your love and contribution matter, regardless of how much time you have to express them. Rest now in the deep peace that comes from accepting rather than fighting life's natural rhythms, from finding beauty in impermanence rather than demanding eternal guarantees, from trusting that each day you're given is both precious and sufficient, worthy of gratitude regardless of what tomorrow may or may not bring. Feel yourself settling into the most peaceful state possible now as we learn the complete evening practice that helped your ancestors transition from day to night with grace, gratitude, and profound inner harmony. Let your entire being relax as we explore the flowing sequence that addressed every aspect of human well-being in preparation for the deepest, most restorative sleep. Every Ice Age evening concluded with what anthropologists now recognize as the most sophisticated wellness practice ever developed by human beings. This wasn't a single activity or simple routine, but what they called the complete circle, a flowing, integrated sequence that systematically addressed every major source of sleep disruption while creating optimal conditions for healing and restoration. The circle wasn't rushed or mechanical. It was sacred time, as important to their survival as finding food or maintaining shelter, because they understood that poor sleep made everything else more difficult and dangerous. They approached this evening ritual with the same careful attention they gave to any other essential life-sustaining activity. Picture this ancient practice now, and as you imagine each element, let your own body and mind naturally begin to settle into the same peaceful rhythms that served countless generations of your ancestors. The circle began with body honoring, gentle movement designed to release the day's accumulated physical tension while expressing gratitude for everything the body had accomplished. This wasn't vigorous exercise, but slow, mindful stretching, conscious relaxation of muscles that had worked hard, deliberate softening of areas that had held stress or strain. They would rotate their shoulders slowly, appreciating these joints that had carried heavy loads. They would stretch their legs mindfully, thanking these muscles that had walked them safely through challenging terrain. They would massage their hands, acknowledging the countless tasks these faithful tools had completed throughout the day. Next came emotion clearing, the practice of acknowledging and releasing the day's feelings without judgment, analysis, or attempts to fix or change anything. They understood that emotions were like weather, natural, temporary, and meant to flow through,
rather than be stored indefinitely in the body and mind. Today I felt frustrated.
When the hunting was poor, I experienced sadness when I remembered our friend who died last winter. I felt joy when the children were laughing together. I noticed worry about tomorrow's weather. They would simply name these feelings, honor them as natural human responses, then consciously let them go, like releasing smoke into the evening air. The circle continued with mind quieting, the sharing of thoughts and concerns with the tribe, followed by the conscious decision to set mental activity aside until tomorrow when action would be possible. This wasn't suppression, but wise prioritization, choosing to focus on rest rather than spinning in unproductive mental loops. They would voice their concerns briefly. I'm thinking about the best place to search for water tomorrow. I'm wondering if we should move the shelter before the next storm. Then they would formally set these thoughts aside. I'll consider this tomorrow, when I can actually do something about it. Tonight is for restoration. Heart-opening followed, the practice of expressing appreciation for the day's gifts and the people who made life meaningful and beautiful. This gratitude wasn't forced or artificial, but genuine acknowledgement of what had nourished their spirits, what had reminded them why life was worth protecting and cherishing. I'm grateful for the moment of unexpected warmth in the afternoon sun. I appreciate how patiently you helped me learn the new technique for making fire. I'm thankful for the sound of laughter during our evening meal. I feel blessed by the sight of stars appearing in the clear sky. Then came spirit connecting, the time for acknowledging their place in the vast mystery of existence, feeling grateful for forces beyond their understanding that supported and sustained their lives. This wasn't necessarily religious in the modern sense, but spiritual recognition of being part of something infinitely larger than their individual concerns and efforts. They might appreciate the wind that brought rain when they needed it, the sun that warmed them and helped plants grow, the mysterious intelligence that healed their bodies while they slept, the love that connected them to each other and to all life. Dream, preparing followed, the gentle setting of intentions for the night's healing work, not demanding or controlling, but offering their sleeping minds direction and purpose for the hours of restoration ahead. Tonight, may my dreams bring wisdom about the challenge I'm facing. Let my body heal completely from today's strain. Help my mind find creative solutions to the problems we're trying to solve. May I wake with renewed energy and clear direction. Finally came love-giving, the sharing of words or gestures of care with each family member, ensuring that everyone went to sleep knowing they were valued, appreciated, and deeply cherished by the people who mattered most. This wasn't elaborate or time-consuming, but it was genuine and specific. Thank you for your courage during the difficult part of today's journey. I appreciate your kindness. To the children when they were frightened, I'm grateful to share this life with you. Sleep peacefully, knowing you are precious to me. This complete sequence addressed every major category of sleep disruption that modern people experience: physical tension, emotional overwhelm, mental chatter, spiritual disconnection, lack of purpose, and social isolation. By systematically caring for each aspect of human well-being, they created optimal conditions for the profound rest that restored them completely. You don't need to recreate their exact practices, but you can adapt this complete approach to your own life and circumstances. Some form of physical release and appreciation, some way of acknowledging and releasing emotions, some method of quieting mental activity, some practice of gratitude and heart-opening, some connection to meaning larger than individual concerns, some preparation for healing sleep, some expression of care and love, even if offered to yourself. Right now, let yourself briefly touch each element of this ancient circle. Release any physical tension you're holding while appreciating your body's faithful service. Acknowledge any emotions present without trying to change them. Set aside mental concerns until tomorrow. Find something genuine to appreciate about today. Connect with some sense of meaning or purpose larger than your immediate worries. Set a gentle intention for healing sleep. Offer yourself the same loving care you would give someone precious to you. Notice how this simple sequence creates immediate calm, like lighting a candle in darkness. Everything around you remains the same, but somehow everything feels different, safer, more peaceful, more ready for the profound restoration that comes when all aspects of your being feel cared for and complete. Feel yourself settling into the deepest peace imaginable now as we conclude with the most powerful sleep ritual ever developed, the final gift your ancestors gave each other before surrendering to the sacred vulnerability of sleep. Let every part of your being relax completely as we share the universal sleep blessing that guided humans into restorative rest for thousands of generations. At the very end of each day, when the fire had been carefully banked to burn safely through the night, when everyone had completed the complete circle and settled into their warm sleeping places, Ice Age families shared what researchers now call the most profound sleep induction practice in human history. This wasn't religious ceremony or superstitious ritual, but deeply practical psychology, the final medicine they offered each other before entering the mysterious realm of dreams and healing. The blessing had 7 parts, each addressing a different aspect of nighttime fears and hopes, each providing specific comfort for the concerns that could interfere with deep rest. But more than the words themselves, what made this practice so powerfully effective was the genuine love and intention behind it, the deep care that one human being could hold for another's well-being and peace. Picture this ancient scene now as your own consciousness prepares for the same gentle transition. Imagine your Ice Age family, faces soft in the firelight, each person looking with genuine affection at the others who shared their life, their dangers, their joys, their daily survival. Feel the quality of attention they gave each other, the way they saw past surface concerns to the precious human soul deserving of the deepest care and protection. The first part of the blessing addressed the body's need for complete restoration. May your body rest completely and restore perfectly through this night. May every muscle relax, every system heal, every cell renew itself. May you wake with strength, energy, and perfect health. This wasn't just hopeful wishing, but recognition of the body's actual capacity for self-healing when given optimal conditions for restoration. They understood that loving intention, genuine care, and positive expectation could influence the nervous system's ability to enter the deepest levels of restorative sleep. The second part offered the mind permission to release all burdens. May your mind release all worries until the morning light returns. May your thoughts settle like snow, covering everything in peaceful quiet. May all concerns rest safely until you can. Address them with tomorrow's fresh wisdom and
energy. They knew that racing thoughts were often
the result of the mind trying to solve problems that couldn't be addressed at night, trying to prepare for challenges that hadn't yet arrived. This part of the blessing gave explicit permission to let go of mental activity, trusting that morning would bring renewed capacity for clear thinking and effective action. The third part created emotional safety and security. May your heart feel safe and loved throughout the darkness. May you rest in the knowledge that you are precious, that you matter, that your life brings joy to others. May any loneliness or sadness be held in the warm embrace of those who care for you. Emotional security was essential for deep sleep in their world, where vulnerability to predators and harsh conditions made nighttime genuinely dangerous. They created psychological safety through explicit expressions of love and value, ensuring that no one entered sleep feeling alone or unworthy of care and protection. The fourth part honored the spiritual dimension of sleep. May your dreams bring wisdom, healing, and joy. May your sleeping mind receive guidance for life's challenges, creative solutions for difficult problems, and connection with the great mystery that sustains all existence. They understood dreams as sacred time when the soul could access wisdom beyond ordinary thinking, when healing occurred at levels deeper than physical restoration, when connection with larger sources of guidance and meaning became possible. The fifth part addressed anxiety about the future. May you wake with energy, clarity, and purpose. May tomorrow bring opportunities for growth, contribution, and joy. May you greet the new day with confidence in your ability to handle whatever life presents. This wasn't false optimism, but practical preparation, programming the subconscious mind to approach tomorrow with positive expectation and confident readiness rather than anxiety and dread. The sixth part affirmed inherent worth and value. May you remember always that you are precious and irreplaceable. Your unique gifts, your particular way of seeing and loving and contributing, can never be replicated. The world needs what only you can offer. In their small communities where everyone's contribution was essential for survival, this wasn't abstract affirmation but practical truth. Each person's unique abilities, perspective, and care were literally irreplaceable. And this blessing reminded them of their essential value when vulnerability might make them forget their importance. The seventh and final part created the ultimate sense of connection and support. May you sleep in the knowledge that you are never alone. You are surrounded by love that extends backward through all the ancestors who dreamed of your existence and forward through all the descendants who will benefit from your life. You are held by the great web of care that connects all beings. This final blessing addressed the deepest human fear, the terror of ultimate aloneness that can keep even the most independent people awake at night. It reminded each person that they existed within an infinite network of connection, love, and mutual care that transcended individual life and death. But here's what made this practice truly powerful. It wasn't just words recited mechanically. Each phrase was accompanied by genuine feeling, by the deep care that one human being can hold for another's well-being. They understood that love itself is medicine, that being truly seen and valued creates the nervous system conditions necessary for the most profound healing rest. You can offer this same blessing to yourself now, adapting the language to feel authentic and meaningful in your own voice and circumstances. The power isn't in the exact words, but in the genuine intention to create safety, peace, and restoration for the miracle that is your human life. Place both hands on your heart now and, slowly, with complete sincerity, offer yourself this ancient blessing. May my body rest completely and restore perfectly through this night. May every system heal and renew itself while I sleep peacefully. May my mind release all worries until the morning light returns. May my thoughts settle into quietness, trusting that tomorrow will bring fresh energy for whatever needs attention. May my heart feel safe and loved throughout the darkness. May I rest knowing that I am precious, that my life matters, that I am held by love even when I can't feel it directly. May my dreams bring wisdom, healing, and joy. May my sleeping mind receive whatever guidance will serve my highest good and the well-being of everyone I care about. May I wake with energy, clarity, and purpose. May tomorrow bring opportunities to contribute my unique gifts to making life more beautiful for everyone whose path crosses mine. May I remember that I am precious and irreplaceable. My way of loving, of seeing, of being in the world can never be duplicated and is needed exactly as it is. May I sleep knowing that I am never alone. I am connected to everyone who has ever cared about my well-being and everyone who will benefit from my healing and growth. Feel how these words, spoken with genuine self-compassion, begin to activate your body's deepest relaxation responses. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. This is sophisticated psychology meeting ancient wisdom, creating the optimal conditions for the most restorative sleep possible. Your Ice Age brain has been waiting for this permission. Permission to rest without guilt, to release control without fear, to trust in your body's incredible healing wisdom. to believe that you deserve peace and restoration simply because you exist. You are the descendant of the most successful sleepers in human history. Every person in your genetic line mastered the art of restorative rest well enough to survive, reproduce, and pass their wisdom down to you. This capacity for profound healing sleep lives in your DNA, in your nervous system, in the very architecture of your brain. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you're not just going to sleep. You're participating in the most ancient human ritual, connecting with thousands of generations who found peace in darkness, who trusted in the dawn, who knew that rest is not earned through perfect performance but given freely to every human being as a birthright, a gift, a sacred opportunity for renewal. Your ancestors sleep with you now, their love surrounding you like the softest blanket, their wisdom guiding you into the deep. Healing rest that is your inheritance, your right, your pathway to tomorrow's strength and joy. Let your breathing slow now to match the rhythm of countless generations, breathing peacefully through the night. Feel your heartbeat synchronize with the great pulse of life itself. Allow your mind to drift like smoke from an ancient fire, carrying away all concerns except the simple, profound knowledge that you are safe, you are loved, and you are exactly where you belong. Sleep now, child of the Ice Age. Sleep now and wake renewed, restored, and ready to contribute your irreplaceable gifts to the ongoing human story of love, survival, and mutual care that began in caves lit by firelight and continues in your peaceful dreams tonight. The ancient blessing is complete. The circle is closed. Rest deeply, beloved descendant. Rest completely. Rest in peace.